Welcome back to another exciting edition of Jay-Z versus the movies. Today we're talking Silent Hill 2 Revelation. Commonly seen as a piece of shit movie. And I even called it that in my previous video about Silent Hill movies, which I also got wrong that it was 2006 and not 2008 was the date there for the original movie. So it took them 6 years to make another movie, 2012 there, Silent Hill Revelation, which is a sequel to the original movie, but also adapts the third game there. So that's good, because, you know, the third game is one of my favorite Silent Hill games. I mean, I've only played 3 of them, but out of the 3 I've played, it goes 1, 3, 2. So, and I forgot to mention that in the last one too, is 1 is one of my favorite horror games, if not my favorite horror game of all time. Therefore, going in, you know, I had a lot of expectations. So the second one, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew I liked the first one a lot. I'm like, oh yeah, it'll probably be pretty good. I remember not being that high on it initially when seeing it in the theaters there with my brother, but you know what? And everyone gave it hate ever since, but you know what? Honestly, watching it through this time, having played Silent Hill 3 and knowing a little bit more about the lore of that and all, whatever, it's a little silly at points. It's not the greatest movie ever, but honestly, it's really not as bad as everyone is saying it is. Dare I say underrated? Maybe. I mean, a little bit, at least. I think it was pretty decent. I liked it, you know? I mean, it wasn't amazing or anything, but it had a lot of good aspects to it. I think they did a lot of character work in this one that like the whole like first 40 minutes or so aren't even them in Silent Hill. It's them before they get to Silent Hill, which really follows the third game a lot. And I think that's something that I really like about the movie, is it's very adaptation, you know, of 3 there. They add some high school stuff at the beginning, you know, just for a second there. They make the Vincent character a little bit different. But I think he's a little closer to home with the Heather character there, who is Sharon from the previous movies, and she knows that, but she just she even makes a joke about that. She's like, "Oh, I was Mary and all this, you know, like Sharon and all this other stuff, and now I'm Heather," because they're running, because she thinks that it's because her dad killed this guy one time, but it's really because the cult wants to find her or whatever. And, you know, like, all of that works pretty well, I would say. And all of that is kind of from the third game. The major difference is that Sean Bean's character doesn't die, which he dies in every, like, fucking thing he's in, even Game of Thrones, which is funny, by the way, because I was trying to place who the fuck Vincent was the whole movie, and at the very end I look at him and I'm like, it's fucking Jon Snow from Game of Thrones! And sure enough, there he is! It was Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. Kit Harington is the Vincent. So that's kind of funny in its own right, that he's in this movie. But he does a decent job, you know, the Heather actress, she does a good job. Sean Bean still does a good job. I think everyone gave it a good job here. I feel like one thing I will say is the movie's a lot shorter. It's only an hour and a half this time. So the brevity there, I feel like, helps the pace a lot, and it helps it to feel like a more compact and more well-rounded movie overall. So it's short, and I give it props for that. You know, it got in and got out. Apparently the original guy didn't want to come back to make the movie, the original director or whatever, and then the other guy got like imprisoned or something. So some new guy made this, but I think he did a good job at making a sequel and adapting the third movie. I mean, the third game there. Um, you have all of the kind of locations, the mall and you have that character, the Douglas guy who's like following her and whatever, and he kind of dies there in the mall. They take a couple of liberties like that, but they give a lot of his parts to the Vincent character there. So, yeah, but I like a lot of that. I think a lot of that really worked well. There's everything I felt like worked pretty well. It wasn't always the most interesting, like later on when they get to Silent Hill. I think it's those parts that kind of drag sometimes. Um, because it's all dull and lifeless. But like that's the whole point in Silent Hill. The other world is like it's this like decrepit looking area, but I don't know. Those are the parts of the movie that dragged for me when they were doing all the character stuff. I'm like, yeah, like a lot of this is from the game, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that they adapted it so well. Um, so maybe a lot of people didn't like it because they didn't really get what was going on because they haven't played the game, which is understandable because not a lot of people probably played Silent Hill 3, as many as played the first and the second game. So that I get and totally fine there, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but uh man, it really just does not deserve all of the hate that it gets. I'm not saying it's a perfect film or perfect piece of cinema or anything, but for a sequel to the Silent Hill movie that's like a sort of just a popcorn flick, the second one here, they actually went a little bit above and beyond. That's what people would be expecting is that, and then it's like they actually did a lot with their characters, which they didn't really develop a super amount in the last movie. They did a good job in the last movie, of course, but it was more focused on the action and the Silent Hill stuff and the backstory and all of that. And we get a lot more of that here, and so it really fleshes out a lot of the aspects from the first movie too, and expands upon some of them, and I like that. That's what a sequel is supposed to do. Gives you more of what you wanted and what you liked out of the first movie. And I think this movie definitely does that. And in a shorter time fashion. And they even set it up for a Sean Bean third movie, which never fucking happened and probably will never happen. Where he's like looking for his wife still in the other Silent Hill or whatever. And then at the very end, like, spoilers by the way, I guess. It's not even a spoiler really. At the very end, Heather and Vincent get away with Trevor whatever from the later Silent Hill game. I think it's Homecoming or something. I've never played that one. But anyway, I knew that reference. I was like, I get it. They're hitchhiking. There's a semi truck driver. I know that's a character from one of the other games. So, um, yeah. But I mean, brief, and it has a lot of the story of the third game there, which is great. It has the character of the third game, Heather there, and does her well. Um, they even make a joke about the whole name thing, like his name was Harry at one point, James's name, like so they explain why there's that. Um, Everything just kind of works. It's all kind of there. For some reason, Pyramid Head saves them at the end. I don't really get what that's all about, but whatever, sure. Um, okay. Yeah, I liked it though. I didn't think it was that bad. Everyone wants to complain about this movie, like it's like a horrible movie, and whatever. And I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad. I think the visual design was still there. I think they definitely nailed the character and story elements a little. Some of it's a little bit cheesy and a little bit, you know, low budget or whatever. But I mean, I think a lot of that looked pretty good. So yeah, I mean, the music was some more music from the games. It's very on brand for Silent Hill. It just feels like a good sequel. It expands and adapts. I think that's great. I think all of that worked really well, and for fans of Silent Hill, maybe they were disappointed. I don't know. Uh, now that I've played the first three games there, the original trilogy of Silent Hill games, I understand this more, and I thought it was pretty good. You know, I don't think it's like high art or like it's no Dark Knight or whatever, but you know, it's not too bad. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it, and I enjoyed the fact that it was fucking brief. So I don't know. Call me crazy, you know. Argue with me in the comments or whatever. But that's it. I enjoyed it. I didn't give the last one a rating. I'll probably give that like a 9. This will probably be like a 7, 7.5. Let's say 7.5 out of 10. Um. So yeah, I mean, enjoyable. I liked it. It wasn't too terrible. For what I was expecting. You know, I was expecting it to be awful, like everyone was saying, and maybe that's why I'm giving it a little more credit. But honestly, it wasn't. It really wasn't that bad, and it actually, like I said, was just a good adaptation and a good sequel, and it did a lot of things really well. So I've got no beef with the movie. Um, that's it. Until next time, this has been JZNES. Stick around for more reviews, underrated movies and games. And I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ out.